Okay, milkmanTV. Are you ready to get this, sir?
We were ready. I was born ready, man.
Awesome, man. No, appreciate you coming on. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Muhammad Ali Rashid, and welcome to the Urban Platform. For this episode, it's a bit of a different one. We have a very special guest, Roger, the Milkman B. What does B stand for, man?
Oh, that's my last name. So if you know my last name, then you'll know it starts with B. But until I get famous enough, it'll remain a mystery
I like that. No, I respect that a ton.
for
So
sure.
you are a YouTuber with 12.5 thousand subscribers and a
Right.
total of 3 million views. Do I have those facts correct so far?
Well, I haven't really checked my view count, but
Okay.
the subscriber rate is probably about 12.5K. And that's with the videos that I have up right now because I've had my channel since I think before I think it was maybe 2011 or maybe before, and I had videos on there that I was making, but I had to delete those. So if you included all those videos, it'd probably be more. But
Okay.
yeah, could be.
Awesome. So you are notoriously known for interviewing students around Canadian universities on their experiences at the respective institution, providing valuable information for prospective students on the academic life of that university, the social life, and the ins and outs of the university. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, that's probably what I am known for. Yeah, they call me the OG of these universities, so that's probably it.
Dude, so a bit of background. I think I noticed I have watched your channel
Right,
before this year, definitely. I
right,
think 3, 4 years back when I was applying to universities myself.
right.
And, for me at that time, it was just like, okay, I just want some quick information.
Hmm.
And now when I was applying to grad school, I took it a step further. That's when I was more, I guess, of a serious student. And I
Hmm.
was really looking at, like, I wanted to look at how students really reacted to the institution they're pursuing their studies in. And I found it extremely valuable. I reached out to you. I was like, you know what? I want to talk to this guy further. I have the urban platform set up for our students currently at Concordia University.
Nice.
So I'm sure some of our viewers do know who you are.
Right, right.
I've heard quite a few students in Montreal have spoken about you before, and especially
That's
with
crazy.
the McGill video you did.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It was awesome. So,
Thanks.
no, honestly, Roger, thanks for taking the time to come on today's episode, brother. So
Thanks
for
for having me, man.
today's format, man, I have 12 questions that I prepared.
Right.
Now, like these questions, as we get into the questions, they'll get slightly deeper,
Yeah.
we can say. And yeah, just explain the best you can. You can give quick responses. You can go deep into it, and we can sort of get into a discussion. So, first question to you, sir. Who are you today?
Right now, I am who I was supposed to be at this age or at this time right now. So, content creator, as they say, a university OG, someone who is falling into, I think, what they were supposed to do by putting these videos together and helping people out. I think that everyone is destined to do something that they're supposed to do, and you'll realize that's what it is when all you could think about is your next move regarding whatever that thing is. You know, some people want to be architects, and all they could think about is architecture. Some people want to make rap beats, and all they do is make rap beats. They don't want to do anything but make beats. So when it comes to this, like the university content, all I'm thinking about is, man, what else can I make? What next can I do to make people enjoy what I'm doing? So I'm definitely grateful that YouTube has a platform to allow that, but also the people that have supported, the people who have been in the videos, help me put these videos together, everyone. So I would say, yeah, that's who I am right now.
That's awesome. No, thank you for the response, man. And so this was my sixth question, but I think I'll ask it next since it sort of goes with the flow.
Mhm.
What inspired you to start YouTube? And this type of channel, specifically going around universities, questioning students on their experiences? Where did this actually stem from?
Right. So originally, I was doing videos about DJ mixes, right?
Okay.
And so a very close friend of mine, she said, you should try doing content dealing with people because I'm very charismatic or whatever. This is the words out of her mouth, so I'm not tooting my own horn. But she said, I'm very charismatic. So I was like, okay, cool. So what we did was we we did different types of content. It wasn't just university. There was other questions. Maybe I'll put those up later on. Who knows? But so maybe asking relationship questions, asking questions about you know whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
So I had the idea to do university. Let's see what people are saying about university, because one thing that I knew when I was going to university was I had some questions that the administration didn't really answer, or they didn't take the time to answer, right? But the way I knew how to get the answers was because my brothers went to university. So those questions I decided to put into a video format, which was asking people who are already there what their thoughts were. And then it seemed like that was the video that started to take off amongst the batch that we did. So ever since then, I was just like, you know what, let's try to capitalize on this. And then we went to, I think after that one was Ryerson. We did Ryerson, and then it was UFT, and then yeah, it just just snowballed from there. So
Oh, that's awesome, man. And going back to your last point when you were like, uh, sort of gassing yourself up. Even no, even dude, I noticed that charisma as well. When I watched your videos, I was like, yo, this guy has a really easygoing style. Like, I feel like some interviewers, let's say newscasters, they tend to push a little. And like, to be fair, that's their job, right?
right,
To push for the news. But some people, when they try to conduct interviews, I feel like they really push the interviewee.
right,
And I feel like just watching your videos, you made students feel very comfortable
yeah,
explaining their experiences. So huge props to that. And on to the next question. Which university did you attend?
yeah. I went to York. I graduated. I
Awesome.
think it was like 2015, maybe 2015. So I went to York. I did a international degree in communications.
Mhm.
So, and basically, I'm glad I did communications as well as an international degree, because the communications allowed me to understand what was pretty much happening um, behind the scenes with, whenever you're creating videos and doing content, right?
Mhm.
Because it's media. And then the international degree, you had to go overseas in order to graduate. So I was forced to go out of my element. I went to Switzerland, went to
Awesome.
University of Geneva down there, and you basically had to start over. So when I was down there, I had to make new friends, communicate with people in a
I
different
love that.
language. So it allowed me to just bring me back down to my roots, if you want to say that. So
Yo, that's pretty sick. And I think honestly, and it's awesome having you on because even I was here thinking, I was sitting and watching videos. I'm like, this guy's asking people questions, but nobody's asking him questions.
right,
And let me take the opportunity to do that. So I think one way I can relate to you, man, is, and I this goes into the topic of diversity.
hmm
You lived in a whole other country by yourself, having to sort of restart. And I guess the only relatable experience I had to you personally was when I had to live in Pakistan for 4 years in all in my life during my early elementary days and during my middle school years, and yearly visits after that. So honestly, like, I would say that in those experiences, you learn a lot of good things and you learn a lot of bad things. It does open your mind, regardless of the good or bad information you have obtained. So that I find that pretty awesome. And how was your experience as a student? Can you tell us about like the good, the bad, maybe some valuable life lessons that other students would love to hear from you?
well, I think for myself, the most important thing that I gathered, and this I knew this was going to be my mindset going into university, was networking. Networking,
Yeah.
in my opinion, is the most important aspect of university, because if you think about it, you got people from all countries, all facts and facets of life
Yeah.
in one institution. So you never know who you're going to meet and who will be able to influence your future. So when I went into university, I met people from the states, from again from Pakistan, from
Yeah.
people from the Caribbean, and I still keep in touch with them today. So the degree is good. The degree, it shows that you are dedicated to what you want to do. But in all opinion, it's like it from in my opinion, I would say you could have a degree, but if you know someone who's doing the hiring, chances are you're going to get the job before the person with the degree, right? So that's basically when I think about it.
Oh, dude, yo, I couldn't have emphasized that even better. I think you need to make your experience at university. So when I would see some students in your videos talk about how the negative parts of it, like the social life and whatnot, and for sure, I'm sure that's true, right? Each school has a sort of standard regarding the social life, regarding the academic life. But I feel like you have to make your experience at the end of the day. If you tell me that literally all the other students you're surrounded by are quite antisocial and you can't make any friends,
Mhm.
I'm not a big believer in that. There are people out there, and sometimes you have to. And in my experiences, I had to be the first one to make the interaction
Right.
and set the tone, right? Not a lot of people these days, especially, like to do that. What
Yeah,
do you
I
think
mean,
about that?
we're living in a different day and age, and again, I think it helps you out that you come from a different country. You said you came from Pakistan, right?
So I was born and raised in Montreal, and then I've
Right.
lived in Pakistan for a
Okay.
few years. Yeah.
So you have experience outside of Toronto. A lot of
Yes,
people
sir.
don't have experience outside of Toronto, and I just recently did a video about the top universities, in my opinion, uh, for social life,
I
and
saw that.
yeah, one of my suggestions was to get out of Toronto because you're
Mhm.
basically going to be doing the same thing that you're doing while you're in university. So if you get out of Toronto, even if you go to like Waterloo somewhere, it's going to open your mind up to a
I
different
agree.
lifestyle. So I think once you have that experience outside of the city, that it really benefits you in the long run. So when it comes to trying to find friends and stuff like that, you'll take it upon yourself to go and get that done as opposed to waiting for either the university or someone else to put something together that helps foster that environment.
No, totally. And it's the same thing with me, man. I encourage students to get out there and and I would say like put yourself in uncomfortable situations, get out of your bubble because you gotta like if you want to learn something, you need to step out of your comfort zone, right? Whether it be within the same within let's say within Toronto, within Toronto, you can still open up your mind by putting yourself in those experiences along with traveling as well. I definitely encourage traveling, whether it be by car or plane. It doesn't have to be fully international. If you have that opportunity, awesome. But take advantage of an experience, especially as a student, because you may not even have time for this later on when you're busy in your careers. And I noticed one thing, Roger, that you would speak about, that you would actually question students on, and it was something along the lines of the university's facilities, how helpful they are. Let's say you're going through a tough time mentally, as a first year student or as any year, you're just going through a tough time. Are there proper institutions? Are there proper facilities within that academic institution that are resourceful, that are helpful? So, where did that question actually stem from? Is that just a question you came up with, or was there something personal there? That
Oh hell no, 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 not
Yeah,
personal, man, not
yeah,
personal.
yeah.
But it was more so if a or if anything is providing a service, I would like to assume that they're going to have some sort of
Mhm.
support system. So, for example, if I'm running a business and the constant complaints I'm getting about my business comes up all the time, I would assume that a good businessman is going to put resources into place to make sure that those problems are either being addressed or corrected.
Mhm.
So when I bring up, so if someone tells me, sorry about that, I don't know what this white thing is, but
No,
if
no, no worries, man.
if I constantly hear that a certain university is having a problem about something, I want to know if they're doing something to address that. Because if you think about it, like I think before my videos, universities could pretty much do whatever they wanted, right? Like there wasn't really a network of students basically giving their opinion or telling people, man, my experience was like this. So if you go, make sure you look out for whatever the case is. So I honestly feel that this has put them in that position where they now have to start doing something, because that's the power of social media. Everyone's now congregating and giving their opinions and their experiences, which is now making the university work harder. And you'll notice, like, on some of the videos, like certain videos have, certain experiences that are usually common, while other videos you don't really hear about. Oh, I had a problem, with mental health, or I had a problem with this and the university didn't support me. So it's kind of telling that you'll get a constant reoccurrence of the same idea or the same experience. So I wanted to see, are these universities doing something about it? And if they're not, now this is your opportunity to voice your
Mhm.
opinion and hope we can make some sort of change.
So your content is also low key addressing these universities, right? To sort of send out a message that, okay, this is how your students are feeling, right? Because it's interesting that you said that, because initially I'm like, okay, this is a great channel for prospective students,
Right.
right? Or even current students, right? Depending on what type of content you love to enjoy. But in an underlying way, you're actually sending out a message to universities on to make sure they provide resources which are efficient and which are actually helpful, right? Because I noticed one thing, man, in my personal experiences being involved with a lot of extracurriculars in university, right? And I think this is also something that you tend to go to also experience in your professional life after university is, if you're trying to set up an initiative, I notice a lot of time being wasted on just having meetings, like let's have a meetup on on this day and that day, figure out the logistics, or then meet up another time to figure out the details and the stakeholders involved, right? I just feel like the whole planning process is something that really needs work. I feel like further, like I believe in quick, efficient action. Like the quality should be good. I get why these meetings are in place to ensure the right moves are made, but sometimes when it takes when the bureaucratic process comes in between, it takes by the time you actually have some idea of how to implement this, it's too late. It's not, it could have helped many other students if you didn't take that much time.
Yeah, but then you
So
got to ask yourself, is the intent to actually help students, or is the intent just to have something on paper to say they actually did something?
exactly.
Right. So, like, I'll even ask you, how many times have you ever done a survey and nothing comes out of it? And then the next time you get the survey, you're like, well, why am I even going to do this survey? Nothing's going to result in it. So now
Yeah.
you're actually seeing the results of people who have done what you plan on doing. Like, so if you're a
Mhm.
prospective student, this is what someone's telling you, hey, this happened to me here. So you're thinking to yourself, oh man, should I, pull the trigger? Like, should I make that move? Right.
Yeah.
So if I'm a business and I'm seeing this, like, up until now, no university has reached out to me. If I was a university, I'd reach out to me and say, hey, listen, what can we do to, make the student experience better? Because we've seen your videos. We want to
Okay.
make sure that our community is well supported and well helped, and work with, the voices of the voiceless. But
Yeah.
we're living in, that's one thing that I noticed living in Canada and living in Toronto, is that they're not really proactive in that matter, in the sense that where they see
Mhm.
an opportunity and they hop on it. If the US, they're more, okay, we got to get on this. We see this popping, we got to get behind this and see how this could work in our favor. Right? Canada's not like that. Canada's more, we've had a system in place for a certain period of time,
Yeah.
and when things hit the fan, that's when they start looking into, oh my gosh, what are we going to do to take care of it? Not before things start hitting the fan. So, it is what it is, man. I'm just glad that, again, the students have a voice and they're
Yeah.
able to voice it, and I can provide that platform to do so.
So, what's been interesting lately, just some extra information for you. What I've noticed here at the Eastern Concordia University in Montreal, I'm not sure if Miguel has done this, or any Ontario universities for that matter, and Canadian universities around, is students have been starting up surveys, right? And to distribute throughout social media on various Facebook pages that are related to those to the respective university they're trying to initiate a change with, right? So, for example, in Concordia University, we had to really push for the pass fail system to be implemented, especially when COVID hit. And I would love to know, I would also love to know your reaction if you have had any students sort of speak to you about their COVID-19 experiences. Like, have you heard a lot of negative feedback, or have you seen sort of a positive light to this online system? I think the obvious is the answer is pretty obvious, but um, I would love to know, because since this is sort of your domain in a way, I want to call it your domain because you're getting
Yeah.
a lot of opinions from students, right? Has the survey approach been used in Ontario universities? Has it worked? Did many Ontario students react negatively to the online system that's set in place? Because I know a lot of people have, over here at least, haven't had a good experience at all so far.
Yeah, I think a lot of them, and based on this is just based off my comments and stuff like
Yep.
that. And people haven't really reached out to me to say, "Hey, man, I'm hating
Mhm.
this online, workload, whatever." But I think based on the comments, a lot of people are not feeling the work from home. I actually did a video about an article that U Waterloo was being called out, or people were mad that U Waterloo wasn't adopting that pass fail system because Laurier was adopting the pass fail
Mhm.
system. So people are like, well, listen, man, we're in a different learning environment. Cut us a break, right? And I guess Waterloo's like, well, hey, this is our university and this is how we're doing things. And so there was a backlash. So that basically, I guess, kind of explains the sentiment of the community, the student community there, that
Mhm.
with the pandemic and all that type of stuff, they would prefer that there was some sort of learning system that accommodated to this new way of education.
Oh. And if we looked at it from Waterloo's perspective, the institutional perspective, do you think they did that to retain a certain standard of their university in Canada and internationally? Like, do you think this is more of a question, like a thinking point, right? If they, let's say they actually implement the pass fail system or no?
To my knowledge, I'm not sure. I don't
Okay.
think they did. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think they
even
did.
I'm not sure. It's something I would check after. But do you think they wouldn't want to place this system just for a better reputation globally? Like, it can also hinder their reputation, don't get me wrong, because they won't, because then it'll be seen like, okay, they don't care about their student sentiment. But also, in terms of an institutional perspective, them not implementing a pass fail system shows like, okay, our students are strong, our students are uh, can go through this. It sets up a sort of a precedent, like that we are academically strong, and we have a really good service in place uh, for the pandemic. We don't need a pass fail system. Maybe, maybe I'm not sure. It's just a
Yeah,
sort of a thinking point.
I mean, I think that whatever they're doing is to the university's benefit, right?
Mhm.
So more than likely, if it's to uphold quote unquote their academic integrity or the perception of their academics at that university, then more than likely that's the reason why they haven't implemented the pass fail, so that when people
Yeah.
look at that university, they'll say, oh man, U Waterloo is quote unquote prestigious, right? Even during the pandemic,
Yeah.
there was no pass fail system. Students still had to put that work in, right? So of course, I mean, everyone at the end of the day, everyone's working to their own benefit.
Yeah.
Students, they're working to their own benefit. Universities working to their own benefits. Students watch my videos because it benefits them. If it didn't benefit them, they wouldn't be watching my videos, right?
Yeah.
So, there's certain content creators on YouTube that people watch because it benefits them. They enjoy their personality, the content they make. Everyone is working to their own benefit. It just so happens that certain benefits, quote unquote, or sorry, are perceived to benefit others. So if you have a Waterloo degree, there's a perceived benefit for like engineering students and students who want to get into like tech and stuff like that. So but at the end of the day, when you're negotiating, you're not negotiating to get the short end of the stick. You're negotiating to get, the best deal that you could get, unless you're not negotiating properly. So of course, Waterloo is going to negotiate with its students the best deal that it could get. It doesn't have to implement a new
Mhm.
system if they don't want to, or if the backlash is not big enough, right? So once the backlash is big enough, then they'll have to start doing something. But until then, why change anything?
Won't change
They,
anything, right?
yeah, they probably looked at their admission numbers and saw,
Hmm.
oh, we're up like 5,000, 10,000 new admittance or whatever. Whatever we're doing is working, so why change anything?
Exactly. And I think that's and I think you mentioned a really good point because these are points that students don't these are perspectives that students don't really
Right,
tend to analyze or look deeper into, right?
right,
And
right.
I think as a student and from seeing other students, um, I I'm sure like I know for a fact that I can say from our ends that we're in a way we're too quick to react,
Hmm.
which is a good and a
Hmm.
bad thing in the sense where like we have to sort of take a step back and sort of look at the situation in a very holistic manner, understand why the institution did this, right? And I always try to think positively. I'm not here trying to think that okay, the institution is just trying to, in a way, screw me over.
Hmm.
But I think this is one point the viewer should take into account is just think from the institution's perspective because it plays a big role in it would play a big role in your mindset and your decisions before moving forward. Okay, Roger. Now, have any university professors or officials, let's call them, do you know if any have watched your videos?
Yeah, I do. There was a professor who actually left a comment in the U of T video, and he was like, "Oh man, this is a great video. I would love to see. I'm a prof at U of T, and I would love to see how professors or see how you kind of pose this question to professors or something to that degree." So now again, I don't know who this guy was, but he did self proclaim that he was a professor. So I could only go on a limb and assume that he is a professor. So to answer your question, yes, to my knowledge, yeah.
Okay. And do you hope and I'm obviously you're hoping that it reaches out to more professors or university officials for the future.
Sorry.
And of course you're hoping that it goes even further. It'll go towards your content will be shown to more professors and officials at those institutions just to aspire change
Well,
in a way.
not only that, I'm thinking about content to actually get professors involved. So I got some stuff in the works
That would
that
be
I'm just
awesome.
yeah, so just to try to get them, involved in, certain types of videos, which I think will not only look good for the professor because, when you're doing things outside of the box, people look at you more as a human, right? As just a professor and,
Yeah.
you're untouchable or you're on this pedestal. But, if you're a professor now and you're kind of interacting with like a platform that the students interact with, then again, there's a give and take. It looks good for the professor, like and the students would. I think the students would have more respect for someone who they see is with it or quote unquote down with the times,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I'm trying to get professors involved. I haven't reached out to any yet, but I'm planning certain types of content that professors would definitely anyone who takes advantage of it, I think would definitely put them in a whole new light.
Yeah, and how has the pandemic in general affected content for you? Because I know, I think I do remember seeing a video of you interviewing students during COVID, but you kept a pretty good distance, and
Right.
you were still able to make content like that. But it must have not felt the same. It must have like like actually just a side question. Did you approach any students for interviews, and were they like, nah, dude, like I'm not getting close to you?
Well, see, that's the thing, right? People make assumptions that these
Yeah.
videos were made during COVID, right? Like
Okay.
that's the beauty of the media. Like I could have made these videos 10 years ago, but just because I put it out right now, they think that, oh my gosh, this is in the middle of the pandemic.
Hmm.
So if you notice, like in my comments, I don't even address that because I let people
I
think
noticed it
whatever
in
they
your
want to
comments.
think.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I did notice it in your comments actually.
Yeah, like
I remember.
whatever. It's just more engagement for my for my
Of
content.
course.
Like, and the thing is, like, how could anyone get triggered by something someone else does? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand. I still don't understand that. But again, that's just my way of thinking. I understand that sometimes people have absolutely nothing to do and
Yeah.
they are just scrolling the internet looking for something to get mad at, right? So if they find my content and they get mad at it, oh my god, I'm so happy because you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna get mad, and more than likely, they're gonna tell their friends, "Yo, look what this idiot did." And then they're gonna share the content. So the more, and their friends are gonna be like, "Yeah, yeah, he's an idiot." Meanwhile, they're gonna binge watch everything on my channel. So hey man, the more
Works out in
like
your favor at the end of the
it
day.
works out in my favor, man.
Yeah.
I'm not breaking any crimes, you know.
Of course.
I'm not doing anything that's against the law. So and look at are you familiar with rap music?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you know 6ix9ine, right? Everyone hates
Hmm.
6ix9ine, but everyone continues to watch his
Of
stuff.
course. Yeah.
There you go. So it doesn't make sense to me. Like if you really hate something, why are you watching it? So but yeah, that in terms of how the pandemic actually affected my content, I'm actually real glad that I'm going through what I'm going through now, where the majority of my content was interviewing students, person to person, because now I'm forced to figure out how can I diversify my content. This is a challenge that I have to overcome, and once I overcome it, it's just gonna make my channel even better because not everything that I put out now is going to be as impactful as my as the content that made my channel, you know, gain traction. But what I could see is what is working and what's not going to work. So, and this would have happened either now or it could happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Who knows? But it happened now, and I got to figure out how am I going to make this work in my favor. And that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. It's just another challenge, man. You just got to roll with it.
Yeah, you know the best part about these quote unquote haters is you're never going to see anybody in real life
Right.
have the guts to actually point out any let's point out any hate towards you,
Mm-hmm.
right? They can sit comfortably in their homes, behind their computers, behind their
Yeah.
phones, and easily comment anything that comes to their mind, right?
Right.
And it sometimes gets me thinking, I'm like, dude, did you actually have some thought before commenting on it? Did you try and verify any information? And I think this is one thing that's always been on my mind. I never saw the point in hating on a YouTube video because, like you said, it just brings more traction to your channel. You're just you're just benefiting from it at the end of the day. But if you actually have a problem with the content, give some honest criticism, right? Because not only the criticism will help the YouTuber if he considers it valid, of
Right.
course. But hate's not going to do anything, right?
Well, I'll take you one even further. If you
Let's
really
go.
didn't like the content and you think the YouTuber should do something,
Yeah,
why don't you create your own channel? YouTube is an
of
open
course.
platform for anyone to do whatever they want to do.
Mhm.
So instead of you getting mad at someone, you create a platform, you do what you think the YouTuber should be doing. But here's the thing, by doing that, it actually takes people, it takes effort. So that's why you have so much quote unquote haters on the internet. Because what effort does it take to hate on someone and say, I don't like what you're doing? It doesn't
Yeah.
take effort, right? Because they're on the internet anyways, and there's really no backlash or nothing's gonna happen if they do that. Now, in if we had a system where in order to comment, you had to put your address, your phone number, your identity, your picture, I'm wondering how many types of hating comments we would get based off of that. But right now, like I said, it's just all engagement, and you just got to take the good with the bad, man. When you put your ideas out there, you got to accept the good with the bad. And to me, honestly, all of it is good as long as people are talking about it and engaging with it. It's beautiful.
Oh, well said, man. And on to our next question. We just have about five more questions to
Oh, that's cool.
go.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Now, I would love to know this. What is your personal favorite campus you visited for interviews and why? If you had
Right.
to choose one campus that had the best balance of everything, of all factors, which one would it be?
I think I mentioned in the I think I mentioned in the social life video. I think it was
Mhm.
Guelph. I think it was Guelph, man, because it just seems so. I think carefree is the
Yeah.
word. I think it just seems so carefree and laid back, and that's my personality. I'm laid back, I'm carefree or whatever the case is. It's a bit out of the Toronto. It's the city of Toronto, so you still, if you want to come back to the city, you still have the opportunity. But at the end of the day, it still gives you the opportunity to assimilate with your environment. They told me there was wildlife on the campus. It's
Mhm.
always good to see, like they said, there's cows and horses walking
Yeah.
around somewhere on the campus. So that was crazy. And the people there were nice, man. Like, oh my god, like people would leave the cafeteria with food in their hand, and I'd ask them if they could do an interview, and you would think like these are people who would say, "Oh man, I'm about to eat. I gotta go." They're like, "Oh yeah, sure. Let me just figure out where I need to put this, man. What do you need?" Like they ask me what I need before they even know, what I'm asking them. You know what I mean? So it's just that whole accommodating, that whole nature environment. I loved it. And even I would say McGill was also good too, because
Yeah.
McGill, I what I liked about McGill is right beside McGill they have that community, and you already know like that community, whenever you see someone who's like young, more than likely they go to McGill, right? And I think even with McGill, the majority of people that I asked in that area, yeah, they were like, yeah, sure, no problem, right? So there's other campuses, uh man, you could ask like 10 people and then you'll finally get one, right? So you could probably have an idea which campus that was, but I would say Guelph. I would say Guelph.
Awesome. It sounds very stereotypical Canadian characteristics, we can say, right? What the Americans sort of look at us in terms of our personalities.
Right. Which is funny because I didn't know McGill had a lot of American students actually. A lot of
They,
them come
they
from, I
have a
think,
ton, man.
yeah, I didn't know
Yeah,
that. I didn't know.
yeah. Basically, actually, McGill is sort of looked at as, which obviously it's not the Harvard of Canada in a way,
Hmm.
even though UFT is considered to have better ratings
Right.
in some ways, but McGill just has that international renowned name. So
Got you. Got you.
plus, I think education in Canada is much cheaper than the United States. So I
Right.
think this attracts a lot of Americans to come
Right. You're at
study here.
Concordia, right?
I'm at Concordia. Yeah.
That's
Have
in
you visited
Montreal.
Concordia?
Man, that's in Montreal. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Listen, we were gonna do Concordia.
Yeah. What I was gonna bash you on this, man. Why didn't you come to Concordia?
Right. So after we did McGill, we pulled up to Concordia, and it was a ghost town. No one was there.
Yo, wait. When did you reach campus? Like around what time?
This was like in the summertime.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, look, I'll say one
Yeah, this
thing.
is summertime.
I'll address that. Dude, I think okay. So what? This is one thing that will be helpful for the future. I guess because during COVID times, since Concordia is literally right in the heart of downtown Montreal,
Hmm.
it's Montreal essentially became a ghost town when COVID during COVID. So essentially like the campuses are in a way where it's very indoor oriented as opposed to McGill, which is more has more of an outdoor which is more considered an outdoor campus, more greenery and more and hard. I don't think they have any underground system.
Hmm.
So that scared a lot of people to go to Concordia just because of the virus and the density you would have. And Montreal, like downtown, is considered like a red zone um, for COVID, like the worst zone possible in Quebec. I live in the suburbs. So even when I went to Concordia in between just to literally go drop off a textbook to a friend who lives in downtown, it felt like like it literally felt like zombies, dude. It was completely dead. So you just had, I'm gonna say, man, you had some bad timing,
Right.
especially with that campus. But I think you're gonna find Concordia very interesting when you get to go in the future. Hopefully by next fall.
Yeah,
There,
hopefully.
yeah, there. It's apparently going to be more of a hybrid system. I know
Right.
McGill's opening up.
Hmm.
That's what I heard last. Concordia is taking it more of a hybrid approach where they're going to keep the online option open,
Hmm.
so and only try to keep necessities in place on the campus. but I feel like you're gonna vibe with. I feel like you're gonna personally vibe with Concordia a lot and the students there.
Right. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be pretty exciting. That's one thing. That's one video I'm gonna be looking forward to in the future.
I can't wait. I'll let you.
Yeah,
Are you
man.
still gonna be there next year or?
Oh, dude, I'm graduating this semester, man.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Congrats.
yeah. But
I think you said you're
okay,
going to U of T. You were trying to get to U of T for a master's, right?
basically, so I applied. I'm hoping. I actually really want to go to Ontario for my master, so I applied to quite a few schools around
Mhm.
Ontario. So we'll see if it works out, including McGill. But man, master, dude, it's extremely competitive, man. So we're gonna see.
Yeah.
But do let me know when you're coming to Concordia. Like I will happily give you a campus tour and
Okay.
have some possible. I feel like you like to be spontaneous in your interviews. You like to interview students. Like you just like to go up to them in the moment. I'm assuming, right?
For
Or do
sure.
you,
Yeah.
do you or do you plan it out actually?
Hell no. Hell no. You. It's
Okay.
just like surveys. Like I used to work at a call center,
Yeah.
and the surveys they tell you you have to follow the script because I think there's a term I forget what it is, but if a survey is pre like planned, you don't get the authentic answers, right?
True.
If you
Yeah.
know, if you tell a person
Right.
what they could get from doing the survey and stuff like that, what the answers are, then you don't really get the authentic answer. And even if you think about it, like there was a point in YouTube where even those remember those prank videos?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. Come to find out a lot of those prank videos were actually planned. And when
Yeah.
people find out they're
Big time.
planned, they're like, man, this is garbage. Like you don't get the same feel, right? So yeah, you gotta be authentic at the end of the day because it's your brand you're dealing with and that's I want to get the truth from people. I don't want to get what they think they should tell me. Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, dude, that kind of, and also with the whole prank blow up, like the fake pranks blow up on YouTube, it kind of ruined future pranks that were actually genuine because people were always questioning it. When one person got it wrong, when one influential person um when one influential person's pranks ended up being fake, I'm not going to mention any names just out of respect,
Yeah.
but it just ruined it for everyone else, man. And I kind of like this. I kind of like the spontaneous approach you have because even if they didn't, let's say they didn't even know the questions you were going to ask, right? But they knew about that an interview was upcoming. They're essentially going to like be mentally prepared that, oh, okay, there's an interview coming up, so it won't be as like, then their whole they'll feel a little stressed, they'll feel a little tensed up. So
That's all facts. That's all facts. And
no,
the
love the
beautiful
approach,
thing
bro.
is like when you approach people and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just don't know what I'm gonna say," and then they're standing there for like 10 minutes trying to figure out what they're gonna say, and they're like, "Yo, I got it. I know what I'm gonna say." So
Yeah,
you know that because I don't tell people, "Oh, you got to think of something right now." Nah, take as much time as
take
you
your
want
time.
because whatever resonates with you the most is what you're gonna want to do, and you never know. There may be someone watching who will click with what you have to say. So
Fully agreed. And Roger, next question. Now, out of all the campuses you've visited, which has the best architecture and design in your humble opinion?
architecture and design.
Yeah, just in terms of its look.
I really liked. I would say I really liked. Um, I really liked Trent.
Trent, okay.
I'm trying to go through the rest of the campuses. Yeah, I really like Trent, man, because theirs was a bit different. So at Trent, the campus is like split in two, right? And there's like a bridge that you walk across, and then there's like a river or like a huge lake. So, like in my mind when I was doing it, because we went when it was a bit cold, right? But I was like, man, if you go here in like the summertime, or if you go in like the spring or the fall, man, it would be beautiful. So I just thought that just that one bridge is what sold it for me because you take that bridge to the other side of campus and then you take classes there, right?
Mhm.
Um, so um, I really liked the Trent's architecture and how it was built with that in mind. And then even still, I saw people like going down towards like the river as well. So it was just like, man. Oh, and I would say probably Queens too, because Queens is on the lake as well.
Yeah.
So just anything with water, I just think that, it just brings you closer to nature, and it just adds another element. Like during those days or those nights when you don't really have anything to study for, or when you just want to relax and you just want to listen to maybe the birds or whatever is out there, then that's the perfect opportunity. I really find water is very soothing. Like even when it's raining, I love, listening to rain, before I go to bed. So yeah.
No, I fully agree with that. I do relate to that in terms of the sounds, the raindrops, and just looking at a lake. I actually have a friend. She attends Waterloo. I remember her telling me that there isn't much to do there. So what she would end up doing is, and she was more like, and she's more on the introverted side. So that also plays a big role in it. She would just pick up some bubble tea and sit by the lake and look at the swans.
Right.
Yeah, like couldn't ask for anything more relaxing than
Sure.
that.
Sometimes you
Yeah,
just got to take your mind away from everything.
honestly, just
Yeah.
sort of step out of reality for a bit, especially during like stressful periods, whether it be midterms or finals coming up,
Mhm.
and or just a hectic week, man. And that's one thing I'll tell students, that make sure you have a routine, especially during COVID. Uh, Most of us are all stuck at home, doing our university.
Yep.
Make sure you have time for other things. Read a book, uh, stay active. You don't need weights. You can literally do body weight if you don't have access to dumbbells. Like just just make sure you have your way of relaxing. Read a book, watch TV, watch Netflix, do whatever you have to, because I know a lot of students these days are they just it's tough for a lot of students to keep up. So everything's gonna be all right. I think that's just my advice for now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so this sort of leads on to my next question. Now, have you, and I remember you doing a video series on where you would get messages, I think it was on your email or your
Yep.
inbox, about student
Yep.
concerns or stories of, and I'm sure you got a lot.
Yep. Still got. I
Um,
still got some more I have to post actually. So
and I know, and I don't want to ruin your content for the future by exposing some of those
right.
types of stories, but uh, let's just go out on a limb, and I'd be curious to hear your answer on this. So, what are some comments that students made which got you surprised or concerned? And this can basically be out of like all the interviews you conducted, uh, messages in your inbox, and even your experience as a student at York University.
I would even say, man, I would even say the most surprising ones that I get are when parents contact me and they're like,
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
I
you
get
got
parents contacting me and they're like, hey, I just saw your videos. And I'm like, all right, cool. They're like, yeah, I watch it with my daughter, or I watch it with my son, and we're thinking about applying to universities. We really find that it's helpful. So
yeah.
I think those are the most surprising ones. I had one like last year. I went on a YouTube break, you could call it that. I think this was at the beginning of COVID.
Hmm.
So I was trying to figure out, what to post. And then this dude left a comment and he's like, yo, Milkman, I haven't seen any videos in a while. I just want to let you know I watch your videos with my parents every night. So we hope that you could post something
That's
soon.
awesome.
I was like, damn, man. Man, it's crazy. Like, I'll be in like Loblaws and people will just stop me and be like, yo, I know you. And then I'm like,
Yo, that's
where you know me
insane,
from?
man.
And they're like, yeah, you post videos. I'm like, yeah. So in terms of DMs, I would say it would be the parents. When the parents hit me up and they're like, yeah, your videos are really helpful, that's when you kind of know that you just got to keep doing what you're doing, because it's like you got a stamp of approval from someone who's making or calling the shots in the household. So ultimately, you could pretty much say, hey mom, I want to go to York. If they're like, no, you're going to UFT, unless you're paying for it, chances are you're going to UFT, right? So if you get the approval of someone who's really calling the shots in the household, then you know that what you're doing is effective. So I would say that.
And I think the biggest thing about your content, which really appeals to me, is see a lot of students tend to take the approach about trying to apply to the best universities or a top university, whether it be in Canada and the US. And the biggest problem that I notice is that this could take a hit on your happiness and your overall outlook on education, right? Because I have some belief. I have the belief, and you probably share this same belief as me, is that like if you're crying. I remember in one of your videos, a student was describing how she was in the library, and a student was like like started bawling his eyes out, and then put a timer and just like wiped his tears, went straight back to work. And
Yeah.
you know what's funny? Because I've seen that, and I haven't witnessed that, but I've heard countless stories. Do you know what SageUp is, out of curiosity, in
Sage
Quebec?
up is that's it. Is that like the is that the pre? Is it like kind of like high
Yeah,
school or something? It's like a bridging process or something like that in Montreal or
basically,
Quebec, right? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So I went through the SageUp system, and I attended one of the I attended Marianopolis College, which was considered one of the most difficult, uh, most challenging sage ups in Quebec, right? And I've I've witnessed and I've witnessed and I've heard a ton of stories related to that. So when I frankly saw that, right, most people would be surprised, but I genuinely I wasn't surprised, and it just goes to show that, like, I feel like our education system needs work, right? Because if you're crying and if you're like, look, I know people manage their stress differently, and I fully understand that. But I feel like education shouldn't come to that point where you're crying and where you're stressed out. Sure, maybe as a student you're making a mistake on your time management skills, and then it's catching up to you. But if it is so rigorous to the point where you are contemplating your future just by being at that institution, which was considered one of the best institutions, then is the experience really worth it? Is it actually worth going through those 3 to 5 years in university?
Right.
Right. And I guess this transitions really well onto like my final question here. What is your outlook on the education system itself? Because I feel like your videos, I feel like you have certain thoughts about the education system. Do you think it needs work, or do you think it's fair? Do you think it's providing um do you think it serves what it actually needs to serve?
So there's a saying that I abide by. It says fair exchange is no robbery, right? So until no one enrolls in university, then there has to be some sort of perception that getting a degree and paying for that degree is a fair exchange, because you don't really hear the majority of people saying, "Oh, I got robbed spending all this time studying to get that degree,"
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
um, People complain afterwards and say, "Oh, I spent 4 years and I'm still working at a bar or whatever the case is."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, in regards to the education system, man, it's doing what it's supposed to do, and what it's supposed to do is just, I don't know, just make you think that you're getting something that other people are not getting. Right?
Yeah.
That's what you get
Fully.
the degree for. Right? Sorry.
No, fully. I fully agree.
Yeah. Just getting you something that other people are not getting. Now, the funny thing is, certain universities will set you up, or and not only just universities, but yeah, I'll say universities because from what I understand, colleges are more equipped to get you a job than a university is, because you have, I've been told that certain colleges have crazy programs, what are they called,
Is it like certifications,
yeah, not only
diplomas?
certifications but
Not diplomas. Yeah.
like on the
Specializations.
job like opportunities and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'll I forget what's internships. So certain
Internships. Yeah.
colleges have some crazy internships where you do the certain amount of hours, and then more than likely the place will hire you, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with university, a lot of it is very theory based. So You're
Exactly.
getting theory, you're not really getting the practical. So what ends up happening is, okay, cool, you get your degree, and U Waterloo, I heard, is one that is good for
Yeah.
getting internships and whatever, getting jobs afterwards. But you ask yourself, well, what about all these other places? Like, you have 50,000 people going to university. That means in approximately 5 to 6 years, that 50,000 would have a whole bunch of degrees. Are there jobs to hire that amount of people? Right?
Yeah.
What jobs are there that are hiring that amount of people? So it's just, I don't know, man. That's why I say it's doing what it's supposed to do, because no one, the society is not complaining. Like, society is not saying that, yo, what are we doing with all these degrees? Like, where are all these people working? Right? They're just getting it. And what I think is happening is people get embarrassed, right? Because let's say, for example, you graduate, you spent 30,000 on this degree, then you can't find a job. Who are you going to cry to? Are you going to cry to your friend who was working since you went to university? Your friend was working and they moved up and got a couple promotions and they're making more than you? No, you're going to take that L and you're going to do whatever you can to, to keep up with the Joneses.
Hmm.
So, yeah, man, I think it's doing what it's supposed to do. So, with that being said, I think the benefit is, for example, a channel like mine. Hey, if you're going to go through this path, just understand it's not all roses and
Yeah.
ice cream with cherries, right? So when you go to this university that your mom is telling you, oh, we want you to get a degree from this university, and then you're like, and you start doing your research. Oh, okay, mom wants you to go to this university. Boom, you start seeing these horror stories, and you're like, oh shoot, okay. And that's why with certain universities, I get a lot of horror stories on my channel. I try to even out that perception where you also have people say, hey, listen, yes, it is hard,
Yeah.
but there's still an opportunity for you to shake and move and do what you want to do. But you have to be able to go outside of your comfort zone. As you said, you have to be able to take it upon yourself. They're not going to hold your hand to get it done. Right. So, yeah. So that's why I say I think universities are doing what they're supposed to do. Nothing is going to change. Like, even with
Hmm.
COVID, right? Like, they're still running universities online. And once COVID's done, I think more and more people are going to want to start going to school because they realize, like, oh, so a lot of people have lost their job. Now they got to go and get a degree and hope that they could get a job somewhere else. Right. So a university degree is going to be even in more of a demand. Then you have people who are scared to exit the educational system. So they get a degree, then they get a master's, then they get a
Yeah.
PhD. And then it's like, yo, what have you been doing this whole time? Like, I thought the whole reason was for you to get a job and make money. No, they're replacing that system with making money for spending money. So yeah, it's doing what it's supposed to do, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, dude. It's actually becoming a norm from what I heard to get a master's degree, you
Right.
know?
Yeah,
Um,
that's a new thing. Masters is a new thing.
yeah, and in a way, like I know it's not as serious as the United States, but you end up with quite a bit of quite a bit of debt after you and then the reasoning and then the counter argument to that is that okay, but you're going to get a great job afterwards. You're going to get a greater opportunity just because you have the master's title
Right.
associated to your record. So then you'll easily be able to pay off these loans, which I sort of question because like it's very easy to say that oh yeah I'll receive more opportunities after getting a master's, but it's
Man,
not it's sad because I've seen PhDs like PhD graduates still struggling to find jobs.
yeah, no one cares about that. No employer cares about that. So if it's
Yeah.
really important, the best thing to do would be to get a job. And a lot of employers will actually tell you, hey, listen, if you get a PhD or if you get a master's, we'll pay you more. In fact, if they really want you to get the master's, they'll pay you to go back to school, like on the weekends or after school, to get the master's, and then they'll give you that employment. My brother, he went to school in the U.S. And when I tell you, man, the reason why I love the U.S. so much is because it's like the Wild West in the sense that it's every man for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with
Fully.
Canada, they want to hold your hand, but you're dealing with the same system. So they'll hold your hand and then they'll just drop you off the cliff. Whereas in the US, you have to work your way up to the top of the cliff, so that when you get to the top of the cliff, you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to climb down this cliff? So the reason why I say that is because my brother told me, he's like, man, there's certain universities, like he knew people who had houses that were in the middle of the university because their parents owned the property that the university was built
Yeah.
on. So he had opportunities that other students would have. So, like, for example, if he wanted to meet with the administration, he would just talk to, the family that owned the property and say, hey, listen, I want to just talk to, yeah, no problem. You will schedule a meeting because we give so much money to the university. We could call shots. Like when you see all these names like Schulich at York University, or you see like Kneff at York, do you think any family member who is a descendant of the Kneff family or the Schulich family will ever get rejected from anyone at York? No, it's a system. It's a system of haves and have nots. So you're out here trying to run around getting a degree where there's people who have money, and what they're doing is they're securing the generations that come after them to get ahead, right? So that's why I say, so in the US, it's the same thing, man. Like it's just on another level where, you have fraternities that no one knows about. But if you want to get a job in the military and you say, hey, man, I was part of this fraternity, the interview you have is like me and you talking right now. It's just, hey, man,
Mhm.
yeah, what's going on? You already secured the job. They don't even look at your degree. They're like, oh, you were part of this fraternity? Yeah, who do you know? So and so. You do the
Dude, I
secret
heard about
handshake.
this. I heard
Yeah,
about
man.
this.
Yeah, this is what's going on. So I down here, it's less of it's less in your face, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think we have the same amount of opportunities and the same cash flow that goes on within this country. So when you get to the US, you got to make sure, or they got to make sure the cash remains within the people who are calling the shots and who will continue to call the shots, or people that they know. Because also, another part of getting a job is not just what you studied in school, it's also, are you able to fit into the culture at the place of employment,
Yeah.
right? So you could be the best person on paper, you could be book smart, but if you don't know how to interact with the person sitting beside you who's been there for 20 years, you probably won't even pass probation. So again, this is why I say the university is working how it's supposed to work, because they don't teach you this stuff, right? There's no class that teaches you uh, that I know of, or a program that teaches you workplace culture, right? How are you acting when there's politics in the workplace, right? No one's teaching you that. You got to figure that out on your own.
No, I like
But
that.
but if you know how to interact with people, which is what I like about university, because university also forces you to to do group work and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it makes you figure out how to interact with people. You'll at least kind of have some sort of idea that when you get into the workforce, okay, man, I got to figure out how to maneuver, because one wrong move that could cost me my job. So, yeah, man, it's working. It's working how it's supposed to work. My job right now is just to, make the transition and the journey for people as bearable as possible. So if I
And
can make
and
it
as
work,
clear as possible, I would
as
argue as
clear as
well.
possible too.
Yeah.
Right, 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 right. So yeah, man, what are you gonna do?
You just actually opened up, you actually did open up my mind, man. Like just after saying all this, after hearing you speak, because it's crazy to me. I didn't think like, so I fully agree. Like if you're not taking advantage of opportunities within university, these extracurricular activities, these internship opportunities or exchange opportunities, whatever they may be, or get even as simple as getting involved within your program, right? Or with a professor. Because I feel like these things, and I remember you mentioning networking before, and I place a huge emphasis on networking and getting to sort of know the culture you're dealing with, how people think, how people make quick decisions, and how not so good people make decisions, because I believe you have to go through these experiences. And like I've always thought until this very moment that maybe universities should implement that form of education, the more practical, and I know they do that through internships, but I was thinking even through classes as well, right? Like how to deal with the workforce culture, right? What type of personality is deemed as appropriate good or even bad, just giving people a heads up. But I think, from what I'm understanding, you're saying that students should be figuring this out on their own. The academic institutions are doing their role and giving you the degree and giving you the necessary classes, which will get you prepared on an intellectual level. Or I feel like there's a huge difference between being an intellectual versus being educated,
Right.
right? So let's just say educated, right? Because then that discussion would go on a bit too long about the intellectual thing. So you're saying university institutions are playing their role just fine, and you're sort of helping students transition into, sort of give them a better idea of what to expect out of that specific university culture they're choosing, right?
Right. And not only that, it's also what can you expect, right?
Yep,
Because again, when people are saying, yo, it's cool to come here and study 24/7, but also look for opportunities that are going to help you. Like, who really tells people that? Like, you don't really get universities telling you that. What they're bragging about is, oh, our degree is worth A, B, and C. They're not telling you, oh, we have these clubs that will allow you to figure out how to interact with people who come from this country or that country. They're not explaining that. They're more concerned with, again, their stats. And by all means, because again, like I said earlier, the university is looking out for the university. So as
yep,
a student, look out for yourself, which is, when you go in there, whatever you want to do, figure out how you're going to get to that point while you're there. And it's not just going to be based off of the degree you got, right? It's also going to be, who are you interacting with? What things are you doing during this time? And it doesn't even
of
have to be at
course,
the university. You could also be doing things on, like, you could start your own e-commerce website if you
of
want to.
course.
If you're studying business at, let's say, Schulich, right? And you're like, okay, I'm learning this information, I should start an e-commerce website. Apply that, so when by the time you exit university, you already had 3-4 years. Not only that, you may encounter someone who could take your e-commerce site to another level, because maybe they're good with accounting, so now you have an
Yeah,
accountant on your team, right? And now and maybe you meet someone who's a good marketer, so boom, now you have two other people that could take your idea and make it much better than what it is, as opposed to just getting that piece of paper and assuming that once you jump out, everything's going to be taken care of, right? So that's what I'm saying.
Roger, the milkman, thank you so much
Yes, sir.
for being on the Urban platform. Do you have any last comments that you'd like to say to students of Concordia University and whoever else is watching this um, new podcast?
Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this conversation, bouncing ideas off with you and being able to let people know a little bit more about myself. And to Concordia, please believe I will be at Concordia sometime soon, maybe later, but you'll be able to tell people the milkman was here at Concordia, because I'm going to be
Hell
introducing
yeah.
someone there. That's what I like to hear. Right. But, in the meantime, in between time, as I always say, it's the milkman. And yeah, man, just hopefully we could continue to do these videos. I could continue to help more people. Same with you with this podcast. And hopefully, I hope it grows. I hope it grows to where you hope to see it grow to. And we'll just continue to keep working, man. I love it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Dude, and last remarks on my end. I appreciate you coming and taking the time to be on this podcast. I love the amount of information you provided, very useful information that students will love to hear this, because even for me right now, man, I felt like I learned a lot just hearing you speak. And I'm so happy you continued going hard on certain topics throughout our whole discussion, because, I'm a big believer in, whether it be debate, whether it be discussion, you're always going to learn something, right? And I think a lot of students will love this podcast for that exact reason. So, Roger, the Milkman TV, thank you so much once again. And I hope to have you on another episode and
Oh,
continue
for sure.
doing speaking about specific topics. So guys, I'm hoping you learned a little bit more about the milkman. I had the opportunity to question him finally. And yeah, guys.
And you know what? I'm anytime. Yeah, like you said, you want me to come back on? Just let me know. Holla at me, and I'll think about maybe some content that I could put together that could put you in the spotlight. So hopefully, I'm always about collaborating. So, and maybe we could get some more eyes over here, some eyes on my channel, and just work together, man. That's what it's about. Just helping everyone out because it only works in everyone's favor when you have that network of people, collaborating. So yeah, most def.
I look forward to it, man. Take care, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Easy.
Hopefully you enjoyed the discussion.